So this is our first workshop in English. So today we're going to talk about the subconscious and our future. And I remind you that these workshops are here to give you a taste of what the innate method is and what we do. With these introductions, we hope that you will join us in our classes and learn to take full responsibility of your past and your now, and with today's topic, even the future. First, I will say something about predictions in general, because that's a hot topic. And then we'll come to some predictions about this year in general for our humanity. And after that, you will be doing your chart. What's up for you this year? And together we will look into it. And I remind you, this is not about how much you will win in lottery. This is primarily about which events will you need to prepare for in order not to be thrown away. Yeah, so this is not about you getting a new job or all that stuff. You talk to somebody else. And then when we have found the crucial points in our life for this year, we will balance them so that you can be more prepared when it comes. And I remind you too that if you should need it, you can have a one-to-one session with me. If you should find something very disturbing and it will not be possible to dive deep enough tonight. So this was the first words. And now, how come that we at all are able to dive into this? And it is now a known fact that our subconscious may know what happens in the future, at least some few seconds. Julia A. Mossbridge of the Northwestern University has made some very important studies where she showed pictures to people, and these pictures were randomly balanced and very dire pictures that influenced the soul very hard. And it got obvious from the readings of the mind that the subconscious prepared the body for cruel pictures. And it became obvious that these capabilities were up to 10 seconds. So the subconscious catches events that are coming up to 10 seconds before they happen. That is now established science. So when we go into predictions, there are some problems. And of course, some few seconds might be crucial sometimes. It may actually prevent us from accidents. Think about it. When you drive through the woods and around the next corner, the car hits a moose, scooping it through the front window onto your lap. It's a very heavy thing. If this driver had paid attention to his body perceptions seconds before the impact, maybe he had slowed down and both the moose and the driver could have parted without injuries. This is not a thought scenario. This happens every year. From our previous workshops, we have come to know that turning to the past, 10 seconds is by no means the limit. So, by the way, if you did not attend, look for the video clips and inform yourself about all the stuff which we cannot cover tonight. If you have gotten the newsletter, you will find the links there. Using our supernatural skills, we certainly can access events way back in time. But to ask for what happened 11:30 on the 14th of September 1889 may not bring a whole lot of information, simply because the subconscious lacks a connection to this way of perceiving our calendar and time. But accessing an event like the birth is not only possible, it's impossible to miss it. This is partly due to the fact that you were only born once in this lifetime, and second, most likely it was a rather significant incident, and hence a lot of emotions are connected to it. So what happens when we look forward in time, beyond the previously mentioned 10 seconds? It turns out our subconsciously observes and recognizes coming events beyond 10 seconds, but it is tricky and confusing. The main reason being that things are not settled. Back in time, they are settled, but not in the future. In order to understand this phenomenon, let us take an example. Let us say we have a huge bus standing at the top of a hill. Sadly, it has no brakes. It stands there exactly on the middle without moving. It balances perfectly where it stands. But the mere push from a child could bring the huge bus on the track downhill. Either way, backwards into a gorge or forward into the sea. You can see the child pushing and the big wheels starting slowly to turn. You can watch this happen, and you know you have time to find a little twig, place it under the wheel, and the big wheel will stop there. Yet if you hesitate, the bus will start rolling. And now you can walk slowly beside it and consider, what should I do? Put my foot on them? No, it just moves over. And you know, in order to stop the bus now, you will need a big timber log in front of the bus. So already now, it's almost impossible to stop the bus. And as this bus approaches the 100 kilometers an hour, what can stop it? If you're sitting at the driver's seat, you may have one choice left. Crash the bus into a mountain wall or let it slip out over the edge into the water. Either way, the bus will be destroyed. It is simply too late to save the bus. The persons inside will either crash or drown. One fraction of a second later, if you did not choose the wall, there is no choice left but learning to swim. If nobody had done anything, the bus could simply keep standing at the hilltop forever. So what should you predict about it? Suddenly, the push comes and the forever is over. The bus is rolling. How should you predict it? Will somebody find a twig? It is highly possible. But seconds later, will somebody bring a big log in front of the rolling bus? Unlikely. From this standing position forever and to this fatal trip, maybe a few seconds or minutes later, everything changes. The fate of all passengers changes quicker than you can think it, from no worry to death sentence. If you in advance try to predict the outcome, it would most likely be covered in mist, simply because it is not yet determined. First, the very last second, when the mountain wall passes along, it becomes certain. No power in the world can possibly prohibit the bus from diving into the sea. So, when we look into the future, we should be able to see both events that are determined and, of course, lots and lots and lots of fog and clouds that eventually will be cleared as we get closer and closer. When we turn to the subconscious, it has a different approach to time as have the beta mind. To the subconscious, we say there is no yesterday, there is no tomorrow, there is only now. But what does it mean? When we ask about things that already happened, the subconscious has an answer. The surprising fact is that to the subconscious mind, future events that are determined are as real as the past ones. Because to the subconscious mind, there is only now. Looking at the story about the rolling bus, we can judge the fall into the sea and say, it could not be worse than that. On a scale between 0 and 9, where 0 is nothing and 9 is overwhelming. The experience of the people in the bus when they get out over the edge, let us say simply, it is 9. But as it stood silently at the top of the hill, like forever, stress most likely was 0. As it starts rolling, stress rises and so on. When we look out for predictions, we for sure do not look for zeros. Where somebody cautiously stopped a bus with a twig, who cares? We rather look for the spectacular things, do we not? We are looking for things that will enter the history books. We are looking for events, or rather catastrophes, with high stress. With these tools at hand, we can now scan the coming year and look for things that stir up humanity. And when I say humanity, we grasp all of it, the 8 billion people. There are a lot of things that happen to strike you and me, our family, our community, that does not stir up the rest of the humanity. So what could possibly stir up humanity? So starting out with 9, I do not find anything in this year. But coming to an 8, yes, there is a very possible Ada coming this year. And now I want to find when should this happen. And I go through January, no. February, no. March, no. And in this way, I come into the autumn and I find October. In October, there is a feel of lots of people, actually humanity, being stressed. And the stress is 8. And next I ask into, what do these feelings apply to? It doesn't feel like a natural disaster, although it has to do with nature. When we talk about politics, yes, could be something political. But what on earth could stir up the whole of humanity politically? So we can continue asking, is this about health? Yes, in a way it's health. Politics and health. And you can ask till you find the things, but this is very evident actually that there are coming massive food shortages. And you can ask, is this leading to starvation? Sadly, it is. And you can count how big will the impact be on humanity. It is felt as a very high rate. Hunger deaths will also strike. Lest you know that this 8 billion figure with endless people living in big cities has become possible with industrialized agriculture, highly dependent on advanced machinery, abundant diesel and artificial fertilizer. The food shortages are, of course, created through politics, as they are a result of the restrictions put on trade and global supply chains. There is actually enough of everything yet, but trade is prohibited and restricted. So this last part is what you can read in the newspapers. And of course, you can ask as to why this is done. And there are some chapters about these things in the book, which you can read if you want. Trauma is a thing of the past. So maybe we don't need to go so much into this as to why. Okay, we can know that those people who are orchestrating this, they are the same entities that created the growth 100 years ago or through this last century from 2 billion to 8 billion people with exactly these means: the machinery, the fertilizer, and diesel. And now they are taking it back and threatening to reduce humanity again. So who are they? Okay, we'll leave that. This is not so important for us when we want to survive it. Of bigger importance is how to prepare and survive. If you want to survive the coming famine, maybe you will have the surplus to investigate these things when things have passed. But the first thing is to know, and if you look at the newspapers, it mentions these things more and more, but not really. It doesn't put it on the front page. Big famine coming this autumn. Prepare, prepare, prepare. It doesn't say that. And it is understandable, because if you want to starve people to death, you don't want them to prepare. Very easy. So, but already for years, there have been prepping communities. They are stocking up tools and seeds. They are growing their own food, learning all kinds of survival skills. Will they survive the crisis? Well, let's look into it. And this, what we see as an accident for humanity, of course, we can go detailed into a nation, an area, community, my family, and of course me, like you. So how come that you can prep and end up without the wished for result? As a matter of fact, we have been diving into these problems in previous sessions. There is a video called Can Death Be Postponed? These endless reasons to die. In one case, we found clear evidence to assert that some adjustments in a person's attitude to social status during the lifespan could have served as a basis for a long and happy old age, instead of a miserable and lonely death. Look back at the previous workshops if you want to know more. So, like we have exercised already with previous events, old traumas, that is, we can examine them, and find the core feelings and body perceptions and balance them. In this way, we break the horn of an event in the future too. Let us take some examples that connect to this event that may happen in autumn. A typical parent suddenly one day finds that the shelves in the food store are empty. If he had no idea, if he never experienced anything like it, the shock would be immense, knowing that he, she, and the kids going to starve to death. Certainly, such an event will make people go crazy. Some will cry silently under their bed. Some will crush everything and kill, and others will eat their neighbors. And then we have a prepper who for years has learned and honed his weapon skill, food growth. He has the house filled with tinned food, canned food. He has bug out and bug in plan A, B, and C. And yet when it all happens, maybe he has forgotten to prep himself. As he sees the people around him suffer and die, he cannot keep his head clear and he starts behaving stupid and loses everything. Maybe he gets killed trying to preserve everything for himself, or he dies in the bunker or whatever. So then we have a person doing no prepping, living in the middle of the big city, no stored food, no water, only the feed to get around. But this person takes part here today and does the inner prepping. That is, investigates how this event will unfold, not physically, but emotionally, and how it is perceived in the body. Then he balances all feelings and perceptions. What ideally happens is that this person will see it all coming, because the unconscious is calm, panic is not likely to strike. The person will be more likely to react sane to all the insanity around him. That said, such a person would probably not wait until the disaster strikes, but get out in time. Interestingly, when looking at the feelings and perceptions of people that pay attention to things like these, they tend to react more harmoniously, even though they do not know about a coming disaster. Even dealing with matters like we do with the innate methods, it is in itself a prepping also for the unknown. Each tiny balancing of past or coming events will strengthen the person's resilience.